Okay, welcome back, everybody. It's the 62nd annual All-Native Basketball Tournament, we wish. Of course, we're here with another virtual session of All-Native. We're here in 2021. The All-Native has been canceled. And, to try to keep everybody's appetite for the All-Native alive, we've been trying to do all these segments to feed that appetite and us as broadcasters as well. What started off as a joke around what it would be like to have a bunch of broadcasters call a game has turned into a reality. So we're going to try an experiment here today where we're going to call a game from last year, and we're going to be joined by the broadcast team. And we will have the play-by-play being aired over top of it, but we're here just to really talk more about that game and, just feed everybody's appetite for basketball. But tonight would have been finals night. It's Saturday, February 13th. Would have been finals night, and unfortunately, we're all here. We're watching virtually. So the game that we've picked for everybody was the game of the tournament last year. The 2020 Masters Final, as we all know, saw New Ange beat Heidelberg in a stunning fashion, a last-second shot to win their first championship in quite some time. So we thought that'd be the great game to show everybody. So we're gonna talk about that game. So joining me today, the man, the myth, the legend, Hall of Fame inductee in 2019, Wild William Wesley. How you doing, William?
Good morning, Peter. Good morning, everybody.
And also, keeping with the Hall of Fame theme, 2012 inductee, none other than Willis Parnell. Good morning, Willis.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me, Peter, and great to see William and Cliff. And yeah, it'll be great to watch this game because last year I only watched really the last second shot that was made.
Yeah, and I think it's just the amazing part of the technology we have today. We have all these games stored, and we can go back on them and archive them and look at them. So yeah, I think for myself as well, Kiefer and Ryan did the call on this game, so you'll hear them. But yeah, first time for us to really watch it and analyze it as well. But I also want to introduce Cliff Morgan, our Statman. He's also joining us today. Cliff is doing amazing things, even without the tournament going on. He's rolled up the stats from last year, quarter by quarter. So we're going to get into the details of some of that information. Good morning, Cliff.
Morning, Pete. Thanks for having me as well. And before we begin, I'd like to wish William Wesley belated happy birthday. Every tournament we have, we're always celebrating William's birthday. So it's good to see you again. Thank you.
Yeah, happy belated, William. It doesn't feel right without having a couple thousand people singing you happy birthday every year.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just to kind of add on, Cliff Morgan is going to be joining us as well. I mean, he's the stat man. He's always behind the scenes, but he's a perennial all-star at the All-Native over his career. Potential Hall of Fame member in the future, who knows? But Cliff's going to bring his basketball knowledge to our segment today as well. So let's get started. So let's get the tape rolling, and we're going to start this game. So maybe just to recap, we were talking about the path that led up to this final, and New Ange really came back in full force in 2020. We were talking about their 2019 tournament, which uncharacteristically saw them go out in 2 straight. We talked about a really brutal draw. Obviously with Masters rosters, it's always tough to make sure your key players are always playing, but they came back in 2020. You almost saw it with them on the court with New Ange, of course, led by Justin Adams and the Wolf brothers, and taking on the 5-time champs from Heidelberg. And we say it all the time about Heidelberg and their dynasties. When they get rolling, it's pretty tough to knock them off that perch. But New Ange, boy, they pulled it off. And this, Willis, you've played with these teams for a long time. Just imagine how that felt like for New Ange to finally get that W.
Would have been amazing. Like you said, I played against Richie Wolf and Justin Adams, and obviously they also have Arnie Peltier on their team. Well-rounded team, very deep, and a lot of pride, a lot of effort. And like you say, coming back from 2019, I think that was fabulous for them and their nation. And like you say, we saw it all happen in Russell Gamble, and it's going to be great to go over this game with you all because, like you say, I didn't watch much of it. I just watched the last ending of it, and it was fabulous.
How about you, William? What's your memories from this year? This is finals from last year.
I really enjoyed the way, as you pointed out, the Ants came back strong as a team, played as a team good, and of course taking on the perennial champions from Heidelberg and doing a good job of holding them down. They were trailing by 13 at one point, but they fought back and worked the ball good as a team and got the ball into the hoop.
And how about you, Cliff? You've analyzed the stats. You remember the game vividly. What stands out for you the most about New Ange finally pulling through?
Well, I think their defense. The second half, their defense really stepped up. I was just mentioning to our program director here, Rob Young, that Lindholm had 11 points in the first half, and they shut him down in the second half. So, one of their main players, and what gave IANT a stronger game in the second half also was their second chance of their offensive rebounds. As you'll see in the second half, the stats will change in that direction.
Native Basketball Tournament. I'm Ryan Frank the Tank alongside Kiefer Collison. And the whole week, everyone.
Well, we have the whole broadcast team here. We got Ryan and Kiefer
teams left standing in the
bringing the play-by-play.
We just saw an amazing game done by the women's final.
But looking at the draw from last year, I mean, these two teams met up in the semifinal. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that game, but it was New Ange really finally convincing themselves they know that they can defeat Heidelberg, and they defeated them quite handily, I believe, in the semifinal.
Going to be a great matchup here, rematch of I think 2 years ago, where Heidelberg snuck that one out. A bit of a shorter team here for Heidelberg, or a lesser team, not lesser. I'm trying to find the words here. They're missing some players, but they're here in the finals for a reason. Very talented squad. It's Charlie Anderson, Al Nix, Anthony Lindoff, TJ Young, and Joe Young getting the start here. On the other side, you got Arnie Pelletier, Gene Wolf, Justin Adam, Richie Wolf.
One of the things, Willis, maybe while we're getting started here, one of the things I've noticed talking to some of the players is that they talk about who they get to play all the time, just being in certain regions. How they're saying everyone in Rupert plays each other, everyone in the Nass plays each other, the Haidas play each other. But they say, if they really do get up to play teams that you don't get to play very often. So I'm not sure if that was something that you would always get up for, to see, those teams that you don't get to play very often.
Totally. It's I think it's vital to say that, because again, if you travel to Rupert, if you travel to the Nass, which our team did when I played with Heidelberg, because usually are mainly just playing against massive guys or Skidegate guys, right? But like Heidelberg, they mainly play in the States. They rarely go anywhere else. So it's great to have Heidelberg there play, whether it be in the Masters or senior.
A lot more players moving up as well from senior men's into the Masters over the next few years. Going to be pretty interesting.
So yeah, looking at the rosters here, guys, a lot of familiar faces, right? You got Justin Adams and the Wolf brothers. You got Peltier, and then you got maybe Big Matt Davis in there. And for Heidelberg, it's all the usual suspects as well, right? You got the Young brothers, you got Lindoff, but I think obviously maybe the big missing person out there, Devin Edenshaw, wasn't able to make it for this year's tournament.
Yeah, Devin and Matt, for sure. I'd like to say it's great to see Charlie Anderson play, because we don't really see him all pretty consistent like the young boys.
Lindoff is just a firecracker.
Also missing for Heidelberg too is which we like to see more is big Tony Peel. He's always
Right.
been with the Masters team, but he's probably due to work and so forth. And also, it's good to see my brother-in-law Al Nix on the court.
Gene Wolf,
Right.
good on his first attempt here.
Well, one thing I was looking at, looking back on last year's tournament is, New Ianch and them winning the, first championship, I believe, and it was 21 years. It was not since 1999 that New Ianch won their last championship. But I was looking at the last year's program, and if you look at the front cover of it, they actually got their championship picture. So New Ianch was on the cover of the 61st annual with the championship banner. So maybe that was foreshadowing. Who knows?
Adams running the break. Good hands there by TJ.
Like you say, I think we were talking earlier about Hall of Famers. I think the young boys, TJ and Joe, they're solid. They just quietly go along and get their business done. And like you say, they're very huge part. They're always at the tournament. I think it's very rare that one of them misses or both of them.
Turns around. Gene Wolf wants it.
Yeah, Gene Wolf always likes to get off to a hot start too. And I'm not sure if that's something that you guys talk about as a team. Like when you have a star like Gene Wolf, is it something you talk about that says, I want to get off to a hot start today, guys? Like feed me the ball, or how does that work?
That's Rich Wolf. There's Matt Davis with the
I think obviously Gene Wolf, he's one of the premier shooters, and obviously talented, gifted player. Obviously can really shoot and play. Great passer. And of course, obviously looks like he's got his knees are better, which is great because a couple of years ago he wasn't doing as well. And like you say, Matt Davis, strong, big fella for Ian. Very good mobility as I see him make a nice shot there.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. I mean, we all know the outcome of this, so I'm not playing any spoiler to anybody, but, Sid Edenshaw is not on the court right now. He's on the bench. We've never seen that before. He wins the sixth man of the year for Masters, but what's the thought behind not starting Sid? When you see, Matt Davis, kind of having his way down there.
But he's good right now.
I think obviously you look at the game, it's the game's transitioned to a lot more, a lot quicker, faster, even than obviously in the Masters division. Sid's an older player, of course, and he's probably not as fit as, say, Matt Davis or, obviously his brother-in-law, Al Nix. But, it's just a different approach. Just really quickly, when I played senior, actually we played with Sid Edenshaw and all them and Abe Brown, and we played Ianch when Gene Wolf and Richie were younger and Justin Adams. We actually, when I was playing, I said, we have to play this differently because we couldn't run with them. That was my mindset. We just slowed it down, and that really frustrated them in the senior division. And I think in the first half of that game years ago, they scored 19 points. They're used to scoring way more, but we just walked it down and pounded inside. Where nowadays, I think there's a lot more shooters, like Gene Wolf can really shoot from distance, and same with obviously, if Devin Edenshaw was playing, you'd see him shooting from distance here in this game.
Yeah, William, maybe speak about that about how the game has changed. Like, when the Masters division first started, it was a real grind-out, big physical game, and we are seeing a little bit of a change to that.
1 versus 2. One win.
Yeah, started 2 years ago.
TJ just wheeled that one into the hoop.
A lot of great players like
Here comes Gene.
Gene
got his hands full with Lindorf.
Get him playing in.
Leads up for Rich.
Yeah, a lot of big teams to play against.
LJ, he can
Well,
hit those. No good on that. Adams.
dominant in the older days. And that first, they had some great players coming out of Kentucky. Didn't have the same philosophy as well. Willis said that they had to really control the game and move the ball flow. And get the ball around, try to get it into the hoop. That's who's out there and play strong defense on the other end, and that's the way it was. And that held their own.
Stolen away there.
I also think that this is the mindset of Heidelberg. They know that Ianch is a much faster team and deeper team, so they put all their give Sid Edenshaw a little breather before he came in. He does come in and play a major part. Didn't score a lot of points, but the big factor on defense and rebound.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a good point, Cliff. It's it's all about matchups. Right? I mean, Heidelberg doesn't win 5 in a row without being able to adjust to the team that's in front of them. So I think it's a good point.
I think what's a great point about matchups is both these teams, you can tell, I don't think any of them have gone in zone yet. So better for your legs if you keep them moving and stay in man-to-man, which obviously these two teams are good at doing. But of course they go in zone at times when they have big Sid in the game and so forth. But I don't think Ianch ever played zone just for the fact that they like their mobility and their confidence with their team.
And I think what's always interesting about the Masters division is just how well everybody knows each other. Like when you talk about how Ianch plays as a team or how Heidelberg plays as a team, when you play with the same group guys for 25 years, it's pretty incredible. They must know exactly where they need to be on the court at all times.
I would think that's true, eh, Cliff?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like we say to ourselves, like others, we know what each of us are doing on the broadcast group. But same with the basketball court. You have that feeling that you are brothers, and whether you get along or not, you know brothers are.
Yeah, we're just looking at that shot. Just before we get on here, I want to welcome Ken Bedard. Goggy Ken, are you on the line?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Welcome to finals afternoon or morning.
Honored to be here. Enjoyed it. You know me, I live for this tournament, and as a fan, it just gives you that. Well, I tell you what, I look up and watch you guys doing your job over there, and knowing that the tournament's getting the best coverage ever. Oh, it's be a fan, semi-retired, I guess. I just fall into that mode of being a fan, but I'm always there to give advice to people, and then you watch some of these games again on video, and what if, but that's the intriguing part of this game. Heidelberg came into this final. They were down a few men, but they came out, and you had to really give them full value for their effort out there. They almost won number 6.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you here, Ken. And yeah, the beauty of the technology, we get to get our fix and broadcast a game somehow, but obviously nobody playing basketball this year.
Like I said earlier, it's fabulous to be on here to watch this game. Last year, obviously, I was busy getting ready to do the awards after this game, but it's fabulous to watch and obviously talk about different aspects of the game and the history and so forth with you all. And like you say, I mean, it's great to see the caliber and great, like Ianch, they're pretty deep. They have some big guys. They got some great, Chester Monroe and Niziak, Kevin, great ballers in the backcourt along with Wolf Boys. So, and of course Heidelberg, with their consistent group of guys. And they're missing a few, but hey, you got to battle with who you have, with who you bring to the tournament, and who's on the court and who's sitting on the bench.
So Ken, we were just talking about this game. Do you have any memories of this game? Were you at it?
Oh yeah, I can see on the video. I'm actually over by where the judges are, and
I see it.
I don't think I missed a minute of this game, but watching the strategy, as I heard someone talking about, Ianch could easily have gone to a zone and rested everybody up. But, they came right out, and they knew that the bread and butter of Heidelberg were in the hands of the guy who has the ball right now and his brother. And they knew that it had to be almost like a gang them up style of defense. Because they had their hands full. They knew they had to worry about Sid, as many years as he's been on the court. But the young brothers were the ones that they definitely had to keep their eye on. they were causing grief to a lot of teams for many years, and tonight's game is no exception.
Right. Well, one thing I wanted to highlight when it comes to these two teams, and Justin Adams talks about it after they win the championship, is that both of these squads are really well conditioned. You know, and I think we've talked about that. But when you think about, you know, just how good shape these guys are in, you know, when we think about the Masters division gets this influx of young energy every year. But I don't see that in these two teams. These aren't like 35-year-old Masters squads. These are true Masters squads. You know, I think most of the players out there are probably in their 40s, playing at a high level. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that they're in such good shape now, and they're in such good shape later in their careers, that you get this high caliber ball. It's incredible.
Just what we're watching, observing is you got 14 is Gary Dyer for Ianch and Sid Edenshaw. Obviously they're probably in really good shape, but they're just built different, right? They're just big, solid guys. And I know that Sid plays a lot. I was talking to my brother-in-law Al lately, and he's been up in Heidelberg, and he's still in the gym. Still goes to the gym. Obviously, that's the passion he has for the game, and obviously he's probably missing it just like everyone else is. But great to see them. You can see them 6 and 14. They'd have a good battle. They're pretty good-sized guys.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting observation, Willis, because I think one of my highlights of watching Dyer and Sid go at it is watching the players under the hoop. When they clash, it's a couple big men clashing down low. It's you know, the whole place can feel it.
You know, I had a chance to talk to a few players prior to this. Actually, was up to Thursday night in the Masters division, and the guys that matched up against Sid, like they basically said that, you know, as good a shape as they thought they were in, they came away from that game felt like they just got out of a wrestling match. They said, you know, they're going home to get their wife or girlfriend to count up all their bruises. Every time they go down the baseline there, they said, you know that you've been in Sid Edenshaw's territory down there, because you come away with you know, he makes sure that, you know, if he's going to follow you or whatever, that you're going to feel it. And but you're right. You know, they came into this game. They were well prepared, and overall, you know, both these teams matched up pretty well evenly, and as we saw, it came right down to that last second shot.
A little bit too close to the baseline there.
Yeah, we don't have the clock showing. I'm not sure how much time left in the first half, but at the end of the first half, we will pull up the first quarter stats. So we'll be able to take a look at that and analyze those as well on the break. Oh, there you go.
And
Yep.
this Masters game is brought to you on radio by the BC Treaty Commission and on video by the Gidlack-Damix Village Government. We'll be back with your second quarter action after this.
Gidlack-Damix Village Government.
Okay, so yeah, we're here after the first quarter. We just watched the 2020 Masters first quarter final. And yeah, really, this is the stat that stands out. Heidelberg came out on fire, 53% from the field, New Ianch 29%, and Heidelberg leads by 7. Anything else stand out for any of you guys?
Well, in the paint there, we have Heidelberg 14, and we have Ianch with 8. And points off turnovers was 4 for Heidelberg.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we were looking at the stat sheet is real telling stat was the 3-point shooting, as New Ianch went 0 for 8 in the first quarter, and Heidelberg more efficient at 2 for 3. But we know that the 3-pointer for Ianch will come back at some point in this game. Anything for you guys, William, Cliff? Anything to highlight in that first quarter?
I just like the way the teams are hustling out there, and I was surprised to see how quickly Heidelberg came off the bench. They don't have a big bench, and they're using up a lot of energy, but they're holding their own, and they're ahead right now.
Just for Heidelberg, the points were pretty even amongst the players. All 5 starters have posted points, and for Ianch in the first, he had, we just had 2 players with 4 points each. That was Justin and Gene Wolf, and Matt Davis with 3 points, 1 inside the paint and 1 at the foul line. But yeah, the IANCH, they're shooting low. I think they made 5 for 17 from the field. So it does pick up.
Yeah, and I think just watching the matchups, I think the points in the paint is a really interesting one for IANCH. You know, obviously, if you're not shooting great from downtown, you know, that's your alternative is start pounding it. And obviously, they might time that when Sid's out. I'm not sure what that's the strategy, but points in the paint for IANCH, I think, is a big focus.
Just to add about the Heidelberg scoring, obviously we got the young boys, TJ and Joe. They're both 5 for 5 in first quarter, so we'll see how the second quarter goes.
All right, start of the second quarter here. So I don't know if did the young brothers ever sit down? I mean, it seems like they have nonstop engines that they play all game.
I think it's very rare that we see them sit down because again, they don't have Matt or they don't have Devin. So I think again, like I said, I didn't see much of the game, but obviously they haven't sat down yet. So, and they're like you say, they're pretty fit guys, right? So I don't think they really need to sit down.
Well, if you look at this too, it's only the second quarter. I thought we were second half here. I was going to mention that Sid's on the court, but he's still out there. That's all.
It must be different. Still in the States, it's all half, right? Compared to Canada, FIBA, it's all quarter.
And they're doing what? Is it 20-minute halves?
In the States?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut it off right now. I'm muting his mic, everybody. I'm muting his mic. Here we go.
Like I say, it's great to have Kiefer and Ryan because we don't have them with us here, which would be great to have.
Yeah, well, I guess it'd be hard for them if they were here. I mean, they'd be talking over themselves. And but, I mean, yeah, Ryan couldn't make it today, and Kiefer's doing something else. And, yeah, we'll leave that at that, and you'll know what I mean later. But it is great to have the whole crew here. Yeah, and interesting, Richie Wolf missing a shot there, and we're looking at the stat sheet. You know, it's a really interesting stat sheet at the end of the game from Rich Wolf.
And that's the thing about players that are, obviously they're seasoned, they played a lot. Obviously, Richie has played a lot. We've seen him for years, same with his brother Gene. And like you say, you have confidence in people like that. You know, they can hit down shots, they can play D, they can make great passes, and like you say, we'll see how things shape up at the end. But for now, it's obviously a great battle, man-to-man, both teams.
Oh, great straight-up defense there by Wolf. As Adams is running the floor, he has Peltier over to Adams. Nice.
Well, you hear that combo over the years, eh? Peltier to Adams out on the fast break. Boy, those guys, that's what I mean. They never seem to be out of shape. Whenever I see Justin and Arnie run, you never know that they're masters right now. They look like they're still intermediates out there.
And just thinking about masters and George Robinson, who's on the IANCH team, he's always a fit guy. I remember first playing him in high school. He was probably the fittest guy I've ever seen, you know, just chiseled. And then he's still like that in the masters. And like you say, I mean, all of them are such good shape, and that's why they produce good caliber competitiveness like they're doing this game.
Yeah, definitely looking a little bit tired here.
Well, George and another couple of other players from IANCH went to play in a World Championship Masters Division in Australia and won it a couple of years back.
Yeah, I think actually Peter, cousin Cliff, and I think there's Cliff Starr, a bunch of other guys, like you say, Robinson. I think actually even, what's his name? He used to play with you, Cliff Morgan. Oh, God, Roland Barton. I think he went there too.
Must have been a good tournament.
Yeah, I imagine there's some pretty good ballers there, but like you say, I mean, it'll be great if we can, next year in 2022, if we can have, like you say, the games and all on the weekend, on the Saturday, just no games in the morning for intermediate and senior. And if we can just have all the finals, it'd be great. Just like the Masters game right now, right? Both teams got a rest Friday night, so they could play at 2:30 on Saturday.
Yeah, that definitely would change the outcome of the final. As we were just talking before we started rebroadcasting, if Heidelberg won this game here, the final game, that would have been the third team coming through the back door.
Welcome back here, right back into the action.
Which we don't get to see all the time. I mean, that's it is a rare feat to come through the back door. I mean, we know the path that happens after you go down to that consolation round. It's a long road.
Didn't expect how much room he was going to have there.
Yeah, like say the women's, obviously Heisler ladies, and then Skidegate. They came back and beat Met AK.
That's right.
Again, that's a testament to people that are in shape, people that obviously are playing well as a team. And again, never say die, right?
Well, it was almost all four divisions. Just talking to the Rupert team, and they were talking about that semifinal double overtime loss, or when they beat Bella Coola, and they went to the final. So and Bella Coola came through the back door.
Just had to laugh at that last turnover there by Peltier. He went down for a break. He turned around and passed it to Alfie Nix. They both chuckled and gave each other a high five.
Only in the Masters division, huh? You'd never see that in the senior division or intermediate.
Well, one of the things I was looking at the like some historical stuff, and if you can keep in mind that Gene Wolfe and Richie Wolfe, they were playing senior ball with the Pigeon Park All-Stars in 2019. So when I think about what New Ange went through, the Masters team in 2019 when they got knocked out 2 straight, they were without the Wolf brothers, and obviously that's not their full roster. So I think this is their roster getting reunited again after a few-year break.
So my question is, so with last in 2019, so Richie and Gene weren't able to play Masters then? Is that what you're saying? Or
no, they played with the Pigeon Park All-Stars. It was a Vancouver squad in the senior division.
Yeah,
played senior ball.
That was a great choice because obviously they're still capable of doing so.
Yeah, well, they played with Marlin, Edgar Apps, Willie Edwards, those guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice ball team for sure.
Oh, look at this great defensive exchange here. Right on.
What line did he step on? There's a lot of lines on that court.
Well, it reminds me of William and Ken Bedard always had these awards that they would hand out. And there was one that was always the Wild William Wesley Who Me Award. Right? Nobody ever calls out their fouls. So William would give an award on who would make the biggest fuss about their fouls.
Yeah, well, that was the player that gets caught. They always go to the referee and hold their number out and say, "Are you sure you got the right number?" Yeah, there you've had you see a lot of characters over the years, and some of them back up their cockiness, and some of them you can tell that the bottom line is that they just enjoyed the game. You watch them over the years. Sometimes they get you mad. You think, why are they acting like that? But yet they go out there and they back up their talk.
This was confusing here. Gene Wolfe was at the foul line. Nobody was lined up. We thought there was a technical something like that, but I guess everyone just had confidence in Gene's shooting.
And that was 3, right? 3 free throws they just took?
Yep.
Yes.
Made all 3.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see the lead get to 15. I thought the game was really always within 10 points, but here comes Ange storming back. Sid gonna slow it down. Obviously, he can feel the momentum shift, eh?
Oh, totally. And obviously you can hear it through the crowd for sure. But like you say, Ianch's, their effort just go. Look at there, tough D, Adams.
Well, we see that. I mean, it's like watching any really good high competitive balls. That it's always a game of runs, and good teams will always respond and they'll always come back, and that's how these teams are. I think it's just always back and forth, right? Game of runs.
Seems like every time Ianch would get a run, then Heidelberg would step up again. It was Heidelberg dominated the first half.
They did.
Well, you watch that particular play. I watched that sequence there. It looked like Heidelberg wanted to start taking a run, and then I think they realized, wait a minute, we don't have the bench, but they still went out there, and while they were still enjoying that little bit of run down the court, everybody was down the court. They realized that wait a minute, we're not giving Ianch credit for they're fast and they're in shape. And it showed right there, like 2 layups by Ianch, and you knew that Sid wasn't happy because you saw him then in that one sequence they're taking the ball up the floor, and usually the hands in the ball of one of the young brothers, and he not only took it up the floor but he threw it away, and then that's when the coach said, "I saw enough, call time out."
They were down by about 17, so they cut it back down to 10.
Yeah, O'Keefe just saying the lead swell to 17 here. Oh, Pelche missing an easy one. There's Sid.
Yeah, there's a bunch of sequences here.
Yeah.
Finally, there's a foul.
Matt, yeah, boy.
This one, Ianch started doubling on their offensive rebounds.
See, that exact scenario is why I don't want to be a referee. When you got 8 guys of that size jumping around and you got to blow a whistle and point a finger at somebody, I don't want to do that job.
Well, there you go. You have Matt Davis. He's at the line, but surrounding him in that play was Anderson, Nix, and Edenshaw. So those aren't small dudes, and he goes to the line and probably makes a couple.
Yeah, Matt's got a nice shot.
Oh, he missed that one. See, I guess I jinxed him, right? Not even lying. Again, what I like about this Masters game, obviously I didn't watch it live last year, but it's all man-to-man. I think it keeps people in the game. I think your mind's a little more sharp rather than sitting in the zone.
Well, I think that's an interesting observation, Willis, because people try to talk about that dynamic, right, around man-to-man and zone, and whether intermediates played or senior or masters ball. Like, what do you recall about the difference in the age groups and the type of ball you play? Do you see a difference in like intermediates and masters in terms of like that aspect of it, like deciding to play man or zone or both?
I think intermediate, obviously, because of younger legs and just really wiry and different game now. Most of the players they can really get up and down the court. But like you say, there's a couple of intermediate teams that have that big fellow, so they may go a 3-2 or compared to a 2-3, right? 3-2, obviously you have 3 younger guys that are running around. Masters here, I think everyone just wants to keep moving. And I know when I played, it all depends on who we had. If we had Big Sid, or if we had, maybe Al, or if we had even Abe Brown. It all depended on who was in the game and how did people feel, right?
Well, I wonder how much of that aspect is in this game where, they're looking at the matchups like constantly, trying to find that mismatch somewhere, especially if you're manned up all game, you can, trying to get guys to rotate off each other and try to get that matchup, right?
What would be great if I never got the chance to play with Heidelberg, but just to play with the young boys, because they're so creative. And like you say, say Gene Wilf and Richie, they're creative too. So, you cannot just stand around. You got to always look for the open spot to cut, maybe spot up. But you're always looking to be aggressive and obviously be active, should I say.
Yeah, well, Ange has the momentum here. I mean, well, Sid just picked it off there, but now only 6 points. Oh, Pelche again.
And just to comment, like you say, these teams are, they're in good shape, so they're up and down the court. It's not like they're getting it and they're pounding the ball up and then pounding it inside. I mean, there's a lot of great athletes that are running around. Arnie Pelche there was going, and obviously the young boys are giving them a run along with the other guys. And you got Adams, and so it's great to see the ball, obviously, and distance, and it's great to see the matches up. Like you say, Justin Adams against I think it's TJ there.
Yeah, that was a good question. They're asking about what type of defense these teams to play. But most of these teams are so used to going man that I think when they bring up the idea of going into a zone, I think it's just sort of kind of like speaking foreign language to them. They want to go out where they're busy all the time. And Heidelberg, even though they're down a few men, they still came out and played like they had a full bench. And it eventually catches up to you. But in this case here, they managed to hold on like we saw the result of the game. But you watch early this game, it's just like there's no let up. Most teams are just like they're going right at one another, and it's just like you just know, okay, this is where all the marbles, as they say, and both these teams are out there. There's no tomorrow. All these cliches that people give William and I heck about, they apply here. These guys, they come out, they may not have all the, in their mind, they have all these moves, but when they get out there, the body's saying no.
Yeah, well, I don't want to make myself sound old here, but people remember back in the day there was something called illegal defense, right? So in the NBA, they would make this call. You'd see the offense would be setting up, and then they would call. Then you'd hear a tweet, and then they would just stop, and they would call illegal defense. And if people didn't know basketball, you would not know what's going on. But basically, they were playing zone. Right, like you weren't able to leave your man and protect an area. They've gotten rid of that, of course. They don't have that call in the NBA anymore. But there was a generation of basketball there where that was illegal to play zone. Right.
So true, and like you said, honestly, I don't think all the years I've watched Heidelberg play, I don't think I've ever seen them play zone.
Me neither.
Just because of the personnel that they have on the court. Even with Sid, he didn't really like playing zone either, just because of rather keep moving.
Yeah.
Probably the closest thing to do is Willis. I'm pretty sure you've been involved with teams in that way, and Peter as well. You talked about playing back. It's funny, they had a different concept in college basketball in the U.S. where they had the stall offense kind of thing, and then. And on defense, you often heard this term, the boxing one. And you rarely saw that, but when you did, you kind of wondered, is it really working? And then because you watch some teams where they got 4 guys there and someone chasing the other team's superstar around, making them work for his point.
I just wanted to ask, for William and Goggy Ken about when you guys played, did you guys enjoy playing zone, or you'd rather play man-to-man?
I used to love playing man-to-man. And the other defense zone kind of was 1-3-1.
I think
the ball off.
Yeah.
Having a point man on the ball.
End of the first half.
Yeah, looking at the points in the paint again, Heidelberg 20. They obviously increased that, and first quarter they were up by 7. Now they're up by 8 at halftime.
Yeah, if you look at the stats, it's actually it's a really close matchup. I mean, they're defensive rebounds, turnovers, assists, you name it. It's a very, very close game. I think maybe with the exception that getting some big altered shots there by Ianch. If you look at Pelche and Wolf, they're playing some good defense out there.
Looking at the scores at half, leading Ianch was Gene Wolf. He's 10 and he is 5 for 5 from the line. And Lindhoff, he was 11 points in the half and 2 for 2 from the line.
Right. Yeah, and I guess one thing, and this is bad foreshadowing because we know how this ends, but Richie Wolf is 0 for 4 from 3 right now. So no points for Rich. So it wasn't the great first half, but I mean, we watched him play ball over the years. He doesn't need to score. That's the type of player he is. He's out there distributing, playing defense, doing whatever he needs to do. So it never shows up on the stat sheet for Rich.
Yeah, you never accuse him of being shy. He's you watch him play, and he's very what do you want? You want someone out there that's aggressive and not too rough, and but he just came out and he did what he had to do, and said overall, just watching that first half, you knew that this game was still up for grabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, Richie Wolf in that first half, he is 0 for 3 and 0 for 4, respectively, from 2 and then 3 land. Again, never give up, right? Just keep playing, and again, they're down, but you don't want to sit down, rather be on the court.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to get some perspective of what the conversation was at halftime. Right. I don't know. I think if I'm Ianch, I'm quite pleased, with the fact that 17-point first half deficit down to, what is it, 6 or I'm not sure what, 8?
8.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now because that's all they want to do is early on, keep it close. And maybe the conditioning comes in at the end. I'm not sure what Ianch's MO going into this tournament was, but they look like they're in good shape. And we talk about injuries, right? Gene Wolf had bad knees for years. He looked great last year. Arnie Pelche's had bad knees as well. He looked great out there. And, so I think Ianch came together. They looked like they were healthy. They looked like a team on a mission this year. You could tell.
What a good thing to, I think, note is not just that they obviously very fit, but they're deeper. They had a deep team. So, and I think they all believed in each other. So whoever's on the court, you just play. And like you say, I mean, if Richie Wolf, I don't think he played the whole game, but you got, if you have the other young guards like Niziak and Chester Monroe, if they go in, at least you're getting a breather, right? Not everyone's like the young boys where they can play the whole game. Like, I don't think you ever see those guys sit down, but again, it's all about teamwork, right? That's how you win championship.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the bench comes into play, if at all. I mean, both these squads kind of look like at the halftime here, we got no bench points for Heidelberg. Well, there we go. We're start of the second half of the 2020 Masters Final. We already did a recap of that first half. Heidelberg leading by 6.
Making drum beats with their feet and then all singing. It was awesome.
It's a good atmosphere here, picking up. Rich Wolf with the ball. Swings it over to Gene. Gene going to work. Met by Young. He's going to try to play some bully ball inbound there to Davis. Davis can't get it to go. No, they're going to call a foul.
Wow.
Yeah, from the second half, Ianch really picked up their shooting percentage. As you recall, in the first half, they had 26%. In the third quarter, it bumped up to 34%.
Mm.
And I think we may have just had a bit of a technical difficulty there. We'll be back on the radio here shortly.
Working it around is Young.
What's interesting in just looking at the stats provided by Cliff, Ianch went to the line more often than Heidelberg, and obviously when you go to the line, you should make them. And like you say, I mean, I think that's a big difference down the end, also helping towards the success for obviously Ianch, because we know obviously the outcome already.
What's the breakdown on the foul situation? Was anybody in any foul trouble first half?
The first half, Lindoff had 3 fouls in the first quarter and 1 in the second. That was the only.
And I guess we are correct to see out there is that Sid started the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I wonder if I mean he was the 6th man of the year, so obviously he was coming off the bench, but maybe not to start the second half.
That must have been interesting because at the start of the game he didn't start, right? Remember he wasn't starting, and that's
so
got to
the
be a
starters
rarity.
then? It was TJ, Joe, Anthony Lindoff, Charlie Anderson, and
I think Al.
Al was the starter. So Al's on the bench right now.
Yes,
Yep.
so that's the difference. That must have been weird for Sid, not to start. I don't think that. I can't remember that ever happening ever.
Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago that Greenville came down to the pretty strong Masters team. And they gave Heidelberg all they could handle. And that one particular game, I was sitting behind their bench, and he didn't start. Because Heidelberg knew that they had to come out and match Greenville in terms of, or at least try to, in terms of speed. And so when you have, Devin and Matt Carl, you definitely want to go with them because they had to try to match up with Greenville speed. So Sid didn't start that game, and they just picked up another foul. That's 2 in this quarter already.
And if I recall correctly, Ken or Willis, was Al 100% his shoulder, or was he playing injured as well?
I think he was slightly injured, but he obviously is happy to be out there for the fact he didn't really play much last year just because of his health. But obviously he knew he needed to be there because they're just short men. So I think that's one of the reasons why he showed up. And again, he was just glad to be part of the squad because obviously it's always good to be part of a team such as Heidelberg for sure.
What was the story then about, what was the speculation of who was trying to make it in for the tournament and didn't? Was there somebody that didn't make it, or for Heidelberg?
I think what I heard was that, and Goggy Fenn probably knows more, is everyone said Devin was going to show up on Thursday, and then they weren't sure about Matt. He is questionable, but then I think we might have heard on Wednesday that he just said no, just because of maybe some work. And obviously it's tough just to show up for 1 or 2 games rather than start the whole tournament. I know I've done that before, and I'd rather just show up for the whole and not just show up and hopefully, play the last game or the second last game.
Yeah, I think in the case of Matt, he just got a new position. And with Devin, I believe he is going to school. And as you know, in most, I know in the U.S. especially, if you're going to school, you make a commitment to school, and then you take a break to go to the all-day. There's a good chance you lose your whole year.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we talk about it on the radio every year, but I mean, that element goes into every team, throughout the Masters division. It's so difficult nowadays for everybody to fit in 1 week out of their lives to go and come to the tournament. It's, when you have responsibilities and jobs and families, and it's such a hard thing to manage every year, especially for those traveling across borders. It's really remarkable when you think about on an individual basis what everyone has to do to participate in the tournament.
I think maybe we could talk about this briefly, because everyone was talking about this young player that was with the Howsett, and then I heard he played the first game. I didn't see, but he is an amazing young player, and he had to go back home so he can go to high school because I think his finals for provincials and stuff were that week. I think play downs or something. Does anyone know about that?
I heard a bit about that, and I think that could be very well true because you know they're not as strict, but if you don't show up for a reason other than you're playing another tournament, then again you're threatening your whole basically whole year, you know, and possibly lose potential chances for scholarships.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up his name, Willis. If I recall correctly, it's Devin Robinson's son, perhaps. But I also know that Bishop kept a couple of his young players. I think it was Brandon Esham and another player for GitGat weren't able to play this year just because of that he wanted to keep them healthy for provincials, and they went on and they repeated the provincial championship shortly after the tournament. So it is interesting how you know, there are other things to consider other than the all-native, right, when it comes to playing.
Wasn't there one of the young guards that played with Bishop Jones? Wasn't he held back too from playing with Skidegate? Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Very good backcourt, and like you say, I mean, they had some. They went down and you know, repeated, which is obviously a great feat to do, and it must be weird. I was thinking about obviously all the young people, because it's got to be hard to them not being able to do anything for the fact that obviously we're going through this tough time, but not to play ball and be around your balling comrades, should I say?
Was his name Kwame Robinson?
Yes, that sounds right. I heard he was just amazing baller, like you say, and like you say, I heard it was Devin's boy.
I got to watch him play. Yeah, he, you know, I don't know how to compare to Willis, but I heard him kind of being compared to like how you were in your younger years in terms of just being explosive. He was a real explosive player. Like that first step, he was getting by guys.
It's really helpful. I mean, I one guy on their team that obviously does that really well. He's a little bit older now. Is Swan, Waylon Swan. Remember, just that first step, you know, and just like these young boys, they have that first step too, right? And just smooth. It's just amazing, the caliber nowadays. And there's the young guys, like you say, when that Marlon App, he's got that first step, and just the ball handling is just out of this world.
Yeah, well, that's who Gene and Richie played with, you know, a couple of years ago, and they made it to the senior final. So it just shows you the caliber that the Wolf boys have been playing the last few years.
Yeah, I remember one time I was playing against Gene in the senior division, and he made me look so silly. Just his ball handling is just his handle is so good. Like he went one way, came back so quickly the other way. I think I fell over. We probably could have made a video of that one, and of course I felt really bad.
Well, normally people would never have shared that story, Willis, so thanks for sharing that.
Like you say, there you go, Gene making a three, right?
Yeah. He had a good final.
That was almost a 2-minute drought there for scoring for both teams.
Wow.
Well, I recall watching this game, and I remember the third quarter just went by, and in a zip, it was over, and maybe a couple whistles the whole quarter. So I think we only have, 2 minutes left already in the third quarter.
So what is that a testament to? Just people just want to get her done and no one want to reach, or what does that say? Or just making good shots?
Yeah, I think it was just a good stretch here. I mean, it was a tie game up until that point. Sid just hitting a big three there. So this is where things were really getting tightened up here. So maybe we'll focus more on the game.
Just looking at the stats really quick about that three that Peter just mentioned. That's the only points that Sid got in the game.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Cliff.
No problem. Maybe at the end of the quarter, I'll just update you guys on the scoring streaks here.
Sure.
Of course, I'm not doing the scoring runs right now, but just give you a bit of highlights.
That's one thing I'd like to have us possibly look at changing is that backboard. You see how the ball went up? Remember that happened with Kit Catla that year? Right?
Yeah, when they
went up and hit the top.
the buzzer beater, yeah.
The support, it'd be cool if you can get one built so it's just goes right to the ceiling where it doesn't hit anything if it bounces way up, right? Because that played a big part in that game, right? If it goes right up, it doesn't hit anything, comes down and scores.
Well, I think the rigging system is considered probably a dated system now in a basketball sense, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I think it'd be good to look at changing that because I know the city's always asked about changing things for the gymnasium. Maybe that could be one of them, right?
It comes into play every year. One game or 2 games, those rigging systems come into play. Yeah.
Yep. I think that'd be a good thing to look at for sure. Maybe you could talk about that for sure. I'll talk to the committee about that.
For sure. Just an observation, boy, Heidelberg looking a little bit tired here. You can just see, maybe just the physicality of IANCH getting to them because they have been, looks like they've been continuing to go down low.
And like you say, Heidelberg came to the back door. Bench is not deep as I usually used to, Heidelberg.
Yeah.
And testament to obviously IANCH, they're using their guys.
This was a collision between Peltier and Sid Edenshaw. Peltier got the offensive rebound, and of course they scored. But in doing so, Peltier jumped into Edenshaw. It was an inadvertent collision, but Edenshaw came out early.
Did he get him in the stomach? Is that what it was? Like an elbow or something?
I'm not sure what it was, but it was in the chest. Yeah.
Did they count that?
Yeah, they counted that.
They're counting it.
So with that, you have the end of the third, and the score now is 52-47. So it went from 7 points after the first 8 at half, and now it's 5 to go into the fourth quarter.
Okay, so looking at the third quarter stats after the going into the final quarter, Heidelberg 46%, IANCH 34%. So Heidelberg still continuing to lead by 5 points. And a couple stats that kind of stand out to me looking at this, and I guess it's attributed to the low shooting percentage for IANCH, but they have 11 offensive rebounds compared to Heidelberg 3, showing a little bit more aggressiveness on the boards and also free throws. I mean, surprisingly, Heidelberg has only gone to the line 4 times the entire game, and IANCH going to the line 13 times, and Gene Wolf a good 7 for 7 from the line. So great performance by IANCH to keep it close. And going into the fourth quarter, we all know what happened, so it's kind of anticlimactic that way, but let's keep it rolling. What do you guys recall about where we were at with COVID last year? I mean, when you guys were around the tournament, I recall coming into Prince Rupert, we were catching wind of it, but it really wasn't something that we were too concerned about. What do you guys recall?
I recall that there was just faint discussion. There wasn't really much even all week. Even on my way home, I didn't, returning home on the following Sunday, I didn't hear much. I think it was more or less a week after that when things really start rolling, obviously down in Nelson a little bit. I don't know how it was on Haida Gwaii, but I didn't hear much at all.
Yeah, at the time, it wasn't local news. It was international news. And we were told at the time it was nothing to be concerned. It wasn't until the end of February that we had the first case in BC. I was in Burnaby. And from then on, that's when everybody started getting concerned.
Yeah, well, I think I just recall, the All-Native always has an element of where people are concerned about, the spread of flu and spread of whatever it might be for that year. So that's always an element of the All-Native. But I remember it kind of being a heightened environment of like sanitation and hand sanitizer a bit, but that was more just to make sure you don't get the flu. There's no talk about COVID anything at that point.
That was a great Gene Wolf on Joe Young, but they didn't get any points on that turnover.
Interesting. While the game's going on, I'm just looking across the court there from the action on just talking about bench. Obviously, IANCH got way more, and on the bench looked like we only have Bro Al Nixon and Reg Davidson sitting on the bench for Heidelberg. So again, they're missing a few guys, and always good if you have a couple more legs to help in the game.
Sure.
When you have the young boys, it's always helpful, right?
Yeah, considering a short bench, they played it really well. They were able to, like you say, with the young boys, they were able to keep up with Hyann. They were the workhorse, definitely.
So I just want to say, as you can look at TJ at the line there, I know that some people wear them and some don't, those leggings.
Yeah.
I know I heard they're good for circulation and good, obviously, to keep you from cramping up and so forth. You guys, I don't think I'd ever wear that. I'd be just kind of weird. What you guys thought?
Well,
I think you're old Willis. It's a generational thing. Like I couldn't pull them off either. That's what I think. I think it's a generational thing. They can all do it, but I don't know if any of us could.
Personally, I wore them for soccer, not leggings, but they were like long hamstring huggers, and yeah, they really helped me. Like you say, kept you from tightening up and kept your muscles warm and pretty strong.
called nylon.
Oh. They were called nylons back in the day. I just want to point out that Richie Wolf just hit his first 3 of the game on that last sequence, and then he had a heat check and he missed the second one. So we were looking at the stat sheet, and that's Richie Wolf's first 3 of the game.
First hoop
of the game. That's right.
Isn't that wild, talking about players that are impact for teams? Again, Richie Wolf just scored his first 3. And wasn't it the third quarter that Sid hit his first 3? Right? And his only points that he had in the whole game through the stats. And there you go, Gene Wolf getting a 3 there. It's amazing, how the game is. I mean, there's impact players and there's players that are just steady, like, Sid Edenshaw, obviously he's a menace inside, but, obviously players like Richie Wolf. I mean, you got to guard guys, you got to play, distribute the ball. Game of runs too, right?
Yeah, well, in the run, Gene got hot in the second half. He started putting up his points, and their defense also stepped up.
Well, we're go on there just quickly talking about the pandemic. I recall, a brief discussion that someone was having with fellas in the all-native office, and at that time, I think we not that we were skeptical or anything, but everybody's saying, well, it's just another flu. And so the discussion came up about, of course, every year, a lot of people after the tournament all say, well, I got the all-native flu. That's basically where with the discussion was at the time. Who knew, that first wave was going to move in like that.
Yeah, Joe Young, very effective getting to the line here in the fourth quarter. Can't get that one to go, but the stop comes up with the rebound, moved away there by Peltier.
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up on when it comes to a couple of the players out there that I recall, and it's Justin Adams and Charlie Anderson, and I wanted to bring up is we go back about 20 years ago, when it's kind of maybe even 30 years ago, I should say, when the game was being played below the hoop, right? So I think you guys all recall in your guys' day, there was always the leapers, maybe not as many of them, but I know like around 20, 30 years ago, there's always this talk about who do you remember dunking in for the first time in the all-native, so I'll ask you guys that question too, but I recall it's either Justin Adams or Charlie Anderson, and I can't recall which one. But and I don't know if they actually did or not. That's, you know, it's kind of like the lore of the stories now that are living on 20 years later. I recall either Justin or Charlie being the first guy that I saw dunk in the All-Native.
First guy I saw dunk the All-Native was in '84, Alnix.
Yeah.
For Old Masset. Yeah, I remember he was down on the break and he went for it, and I think Sid might have too, but I remember Al, he could really jump when he was young, so Al's a couple years older than us, and yeah, I remember that in '84.
Just prior to that, I don't know if you guys knew Jerry Scudero. There was a Scudero in the seniors final. That was his father that I saw do the first dunk in the All-Native. I have a brother named Marvin, and he's dunking, and he actually did one in a game, but we were up by 30 then.
Can you remember what year that was that Jerry dunked, Cliff?
Oh, I can't. It might have been the early 80s.
They did that against Kitty.
Yeah, I think it was the early 80s. I remember that one too.
Yeah, the place went crazy. That was the first actual dunk in the All-Native.
Randy Hayward almost did it once.
Well, Randy was like Sid said, they got up there high enough where they just had the ball in their hand and they just dropped it into the basket. They didn't dunk.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like something where, you know, they knew they could probably do it, but I'm not saying they were humble or anything like that, but they just knew they had the lane to do it, but they just dropped it in there. You know, I saw Randy many times where I always thought that's what he was going to do, but he just let it roll off his hand and drop into the hoop.
Just going back and for William and Goggy Ken there, what about, you know, thinking about players, Jamie Sterrett and Kenny Humperville, could they jump?
Oh, you often wonder, like, you saw Ken Humperville, look like he had springs in his legs. And he was that strong.
Did they ever dunk in a game?
William was his teammate, so he'd know more about him than I do.
The same with Jamie. They were both strong under the boards, but Kenny more liked to play out in the key area. But when he went underneath for rebounds or layups, he'd just go right up there. He was sometimes above the rim, just that he wouldn't dunk it. There was a big duel between Kenny Humperville and Nelson Lease in one tournament. Just basket for basket, move for move, and I think they split the MVP one in the BC Championships that year.
Wow.
Well, it's interesting when you think about the generations of basketball. Like if you're going to take, you know, guys, the leapers of the day back then and compare them to like a Jacob Tom and a Jesse Barnes of today's, it's kind of the same makeup, but obviously the athleticism has just evolved. It's about the evolution of the basketball player type thing.
Yeah. The younger generation nowadays are a lot taller and slimmer, more muscle, and it shows. You know, Randy looked like he was moving slow motion when he used to do that, but he had such big strides that's what made it so you just couldn't judge it until he leapt. He'll leave almost like what's his name, Michael Jordan, and he'd leave around the key area, and a couple of steps later he's just laying it off his fingers into the rim.
Yeah.
One of Randy's strengths as well, like even though you know, he was considered, and again I keep emphasizing you should have a good point guard, and he was that versatile. Sometimes he played the shooting guard, and other times he was the point guard. But one of his abilities was when you thought you had him well defended, he was probably one of the best passers in midair. You know, like, and you often saw like his brother Frank Hayward and guys like Buddy Hudson getting layups off passes from Randy because their man was on Randy trying to help out. And so I always remember those days. They just they're never getting given credit for his passing ability. They all thought, oh, he's got 30 points. He must be a real good shooter. And he was a good defender as well.
I think at this point here, this is where the game kind of stayed at this level. Whenever Ianch made a run, then Heidelberg would pull away again, but that deficit wasn't that big.
I always think about in these moments, you know, when, you know, Heidelberg's won 5 straight. You know, they've been here before, like what everyone, like all the fans' expectations are. Like everybody right now thinks Heidelberg's got them exactly where they want them, and it's going to be same old, same old. So I think that's just I remember feeling the vibe of that, feeling like that's what it felt like.
Yeah, well, with Ianch stepping up on defense, nothing came easy for Heidelberg. They really had to fight for their points.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Well, go ahead, Willis.
Just looking at the time, we only got 2:50 left. I remember being in situations where the game's really close, whether you might be up by 2 or up by 3 or down by 2 or 3. You're thinking, oh man, we got to get a stop, or we just got to maybe hit a good shot, get a couple of free throws. Again, it's just the intensity, right? You have to be ready for it. And like you say, anything can happen, but try to be as smart as you can and be careful, but not too careful.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, you know, it is noticeable. This Ianch defense, oh my God, that was such a crazy shot. Oh my goodness.
That was a 3 too, wasn't it?
Yep.
Was that TJ? Who was that? Or Joe, I mean?
I think it was Joe. TJ, certainly with the braids, because for them they're both 3 for 5 from free throw. I mean 3, TJ and Joe.
But that was like shot clock expiring turnaround jumper with 2 guys in his face, like crazy. Boy, Justin, yeah, that's who I'd be going to in that moment, Justin.
Yeah, Justin and Gene, right?
Well, Justin flirted with a triple-double in this game, and he's, as he always does, right? He's always such a good balanced player. Oh, Anderson with the huge save there. It's almost scrambly out there, eh? You got to kind of try to get him to calm down. Holy.
I don't know how many times you may notice what I did in that last couple minutes. That baseline for Heidelberg, there's either TJ or Charlie Anderson wide open. And the ball action on the outside, no one looked inside to see them. And I'm pretty sure that made that layup. For some reason or other, I don't know. Like Reggie Davis and I had a discussion after the game, and he talked about that. He saw these guys and why they weren't hitting the ball. I said, well, it was just because they concentrated on limiting the guy that got the ball right now, and they cut off his peripheral vision, and they wanted to make sure he wasn't able to make those passes inside.
Right. Oh, wow.
What a no call.
Huge
That was
finish.
a no call, yeah.
Yeah,
that was
good no call.
End-to-end by Pelche. Rebound off a missed three-pointer and from one end to the other.
2-point game. 7-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. TJ Young with the ball. He's met by Davis. 9 seconds. Young still with the ball. Going to work, turning around. Almost out.
Oh, no.
Lindoff. He gets hit. It's stolen.
Oh, no. Here we go.
It's the 6-second mark. The foul.
So that was a foul to give, right? Non-shooting.
Yep, non-shooting on the side. So, and of course, that's when I came into the game, I think, to watch it. And so we know there's going to be a timeout. But of course, my first thought as a player, how are we going to play defense? Because obviously, Ianch is going to get the ball from out of bounds, right? So that's what I want to throw towards you guys.
They call it time.
How would you play that when you come back?
Just a point. They're going on a timeout right now, but at the 7-minute mark, Heidelberg hadn't scored since then. So it was a 3-minute drought for them. Ianch was down by 6 points at the time.
So I recall reading the article where Justin says at this timeout that this is a set play. This is what they're going to call. And the ball is going to be in Justin's hands. And he's going to make the decision, right? And I think he makes the right decision, right? It's whatever the defense gives him.
And personally, I would have said to the guys on the Heidelberg team, I would have played a 3-2. I would have had Charlie and Sid inside, and then the Lindoff and the two young boys guarding the 3, roughly. And
you don't want a 3 here. The last thing you want is a 3 here.
Correct. Yes,
right?
that's why I would have guarded against that, but obviously be tight within the key. As you see, watch.
So Adams drives, double, kicks out.
Boom.
Oh.
1.2. What they don't see it Lindoff on the side here, right here. And watch us.
Holy.
Did it hit rim?
It hits the rim, by left side of the rim.
Oh, boy. Big shot, though, again, like as that was Richie's second 3.
And the fourth quarter.
Just looking at it, he was 2 for 8, and Gene was 5 for 18. So they're the only ones that made 3s for Ianch, and they were 7 for 29.
Well, that's a good time to hit a couple in the fourth quarter. Wow, like Richie, the thing I like about him is his showmanship.
Yes.
And people love to hate Richie Wolf because he plays with the crowd so much. But this is the moment where you see them win the championship and he plays to the crowd. Like, it's so awesome. This is the stuff that it's so memorable, right?
And it's just passion for the game, right?
Yeah.
Passion, because obviously he played the whole game and he made 2 shots.
Yeah.
Right? Both 3s. Fabulous.
Yeah, and the presence of Justin to trust him too, right? Kick it out. Game's in your hands, Richie. Let's see it. That was awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing about teamwork, right? Teamwork wins championship.
Yeah, like we said, this was New Ianch's first championship since the '99 Intermediate Championship. So same guys too.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well deserved.
Go ahead, William.
It's very impressive the way they played. They stuck to their game plan, worked the ball around, and slowly wore down Heidelberg. Heidelberg with the short bench. It's obvious, and they had that drought there for a while. Ianch kept on ticking away and chipping away at the lead and took it away in the end.
Yeah.
Just a note on Lindoff. He had 2 points in the first quarter, 10 or 11 points at the half, and he was 0 for in the second half. So they really shut him down.
Oh.
Or he went cold. Right? It's one of those ones. You don't want to go cold, that's for sure.
Well, I was watching a couple of the players, including him in that second half, and you got to give full credit to Gene Wolf. He came out and did what he had to do as a leader, but Anthony was like concentrating and helping out the players, checking Justin, because that's the guy that Heidelberg had for years. No matter what level they played against him, they've had the utmost respect for him and his talents, and that's the guy they figured that's going to do the damage. And they came out, and Lindoff was trying to help out in that regard. But when you're, as William mentioned out there, they have a short bench, and it doesn't matter. Willis, this, Peter, how good you are, and even the best players get tired.
Yeah, well, looking at the stat sheet, I mean, Justin, we know him. He's always usually good for 30 points, and he had 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, which is a great game. I mean, 16 points, though, I would consider is holding Justin to 16. Gene led with 28, and I guess, to your point, the stars are going to get theirs, right? So we expect Gene to shine. We expect Justin to shine. And I think Ian just needed someone else to kind of chip in, and what a fitting end to see Richie hit a shot, when they needed it. It's really a great championship for them.
Again, talented and passionate players. They never say, I'm not cold. I haven't made a shot. You're going to still shoot, right? Because again, that's just, some people have the gift to do that, and the confidence also. So I think it was great to see again from Adams to Richie Wolf, and he hits it, and great ending to that Masters final.
Again, Ianch didn't shoot so well with 36%, whereas Heidelberg ended up with 41%. But their defense really held them into the game there.
Yeah, I know, great championship. And the awards, of course, Justin Adams was awarded MVP of the tournament, well deserved. And then, yes, I think it's got to be the first for Sid, right? 6th man of the year. I think he's literally now swept all the award categories at the All-Native. Right?
Yeah, that's...
Well,
then,
yeah.
And then Joe Young was most outstanding.
I'm talking to Frank there, and I don't know, can't remember his after that game or the women's game. I said every time Sid steps on the court, he sets the record, And but we all know that, like, the passion he has for the game, and look at how many years he's been in there, and then you sometimes I think we're all gonna be surprised when we see Heidelberg on the court and Sid's not out there.
Sure.
No, you got to give them full credit for the manpower they had. 6 players. They held on pretty solid for what they had, and also to the young brothers, TJ. They were fantastic. They were all over the place. Just looking at the rebounding, Joe Young had 8 rebounds, and TJ had 4. But they were all over the place.
Well, I think it's amazing when you highlight Joe. So Joe is the most inspirational player and the highest scorer for the tournament. Well, the thing that stands out for me about him is that, as a senior player, he was considered somewhat of a role player during the Heidelberg senior dynasty, right? It was all Devin and Matt and Sid, and he was just kind of playing a role player. But in the Masters division, he's a superstar. He's been MVP multiple times. He's become a scoring machine, and he can do it all, right? So I think, it's great to highlight Joe and his emergence in the Masters division. He's one of the best.
I've always been appreciative of watching the young boys play. Obviously, they play with a lot of pride. They play with calmness, and they're just so quiet. But they're not quiet on the score sheet with defensive and passing and scoring, and it's just incredible, and it's just remarkable, because obviously I play guard, so I appreciate people like that what they bring to their team. And like you said, they've been role players, but now they're extremely extraordinary role players, for sure, in my mind.
Yeah, so guys, go ahead, Cliff.
Other than that, everything else was pretty even. If you take a look at the stats, defensive, offensive, assists, steals, turnovers, block shots, and altered shots, they were all pretty even. They were really even matched. And the final score indicates the play that both teams did through the whole game. So, give them full credit. Turnovers was pretty considerably low for the tournament, 15 each. And assists, you don't see any one player going from end to end all the time. So naturally, you'll see a lot of assists in the Masters division. So pretty even match.
Yeah, I guess, looking forward to 2022, you got to assume these guys were all gears going for a rematch and for Heidelberg to try to get their revenge on them. So I can just imagine what it's like. We've been talking to a lot of players about what does it feel like to have no all native, and we know the routine that we all go through. The ball players, it's to the 10th degree of what they're dealing with in terms of no all native. Where we get to do this and still get our fix as broadcasters, but yeah, I guess this is it's good to reflect back on the game. Make sure just kind of make sure we all remember exactly what we're missing, and yeah, just trying to look forward to next year. And I guess some final thoughts, you guys. Wild William Wesley, final thoughts looking forward to next year and reminiscing today.
Yeah, I'm looking to see a lot of the communities come back and really try to get back into the tournament. Those that have been knocked out earlier on in the year, but they know where their mistakes are. Now they got to work and clean up their skills and come back and try to win their games and probably get into the finals if they can, make their hometown proud. And a lot of the players nowadays, they're young, they're tall, they're speedy. And I think that once they start developing on their skills, you're going to see a lot better games, a lot faster games, and a lot closer games in the future.
Right on. Thanks, William. Ken Bedard, what's your thoughts? Now we're on finals night, or would be finals night of the 62nd. So we're stuck waiting another year. Are we going to make it?
Well, that's the intriguing part of these games. Sometimes this team has got this, no problem. You see them in the first half, but then you think, okay, and we often say this, like there's another half to play. Teams, and Liam often used to ask him his analysis. He'd often come out and say, well, they're having a chat in the dressing room, no doubt, and they realize, well, that game plan is not working. So they come out in second half, and who knows? You got some teams that come down, they try to they change the game, and then all of a sudden, let's go back to what got us here, and that's what makes these games so exciting. And we've watched a lot of close games, a lot of blowouts, but I tell you, like overall, the fans are well entertained, and so are we. So it's we just look forward. I am looking forward to next year.
Right on. Thanks, Ken. We look forward to seeing you there too. Cliff Morgan, reflection on looking forward to next year now that we've gotten our fix and watched the finals.
Really hoping there will be. At this time and point, it's really scary with this pandemic. They say that all Canadians should be having their vaccines by the end of September, hopefully, and will our players be ready for the all native? I really do hope so. I know wild skill players will be ready, but then again, how many teams are practicing together? And how many teams will be practicing after everyone gets their pandemic? We need our all. I hope there is. I really like to be with this broadcast crew again. Playing basketball almost all my life now, and being part of this tournament, I really would like to see it.
Right on. Thanks, Cliff. Willis, your final thoughts after watching today's final.
Well, first off, again, just always been an honor to be with you guys, and it's great to be part of this crew, William and Goggy, Ken, and Cliff, and obviously we miss Ryan and Keith, yourself, Peter, and Rob. Great to see Steve Little, and again, 2022. I think the all-native tournament will probably look at having a lot of more teams part of the tournament, just because of obviously what we've been going through this year, and again, we obviously I always wish people well. You want people to obviously prepare, and I think 2022 is going to be a great excitement, and I'm sure it will happen. But again, we got to keep well and keep going the good fight and keep steady. But like I say, it's always a pleasure and honor to be part of this crew, and I hope to be part of it with you guys live in 2022. So thanks for having me part of this, and y'all be well.
Yeah, and Willis, obviously your perspective is always appreciated here. You know, like being the player you are and your role in the tournament. You know, we really appreciate you giving us insight, you know, into those points of view, and that's what the whole point of this series is to try to give a different perspective into the conversation, right? And that's all we can do. You know, looking at where we're at. This is somewhat therapeutic, I think, for us, is to be able to talk about basketball, because talking to some of the players and asking those tough questions about what does this mean, no basketball for a year? Like, nobody's ever fathomed this. Nobody even considered this scenario. So I think a lot of the players are just saying, we'll be fine. Like, yes, we're not playing ball, but there's no quit in anybody. There's no that this is going to get in the way. Or so I guess, you know, that's the feeling of things. And I guess my feelings on where we're at is I don't want us to lose sight of the reality of what we're up against. This session's not to be ignorant to that. It's to be the opposite. It's to give us relief, right? Relief from the harsh reality of what all the communities are going through that make up the All-Native. You know, I think there's much more bigger things in play that we're very well aware of that. And I think we all get enough of that in our daily lives, right? For our own well-being. So I think this is just a break, right? A break for us to reflect back, appreciate the tournament for what it is. And I think all of us to uphold it and make sure that, you know, that we do feel that we'll be okay next year, and we will all come back and we'll all be safe and we'll all be better for it. But yeah, I think it's just been great to kind of spend the time with you guys and talking about the All-Native in itself is, it's just it's important for us to talk about what brings us together, right? And I think that's what the All-Native always does. So it's still doing that. You know, people are still reminiscing all week, right? I've seen so many pictures about the last year's tournament that that's been a tough week. But thank you guys all for spending the time with us watching last year's Masters final. And I guess for the team, we'll sign off and we'll see you guys in 2022.
Thanks to Rob and CFNR, Steve Little and the gang. I appreciate you asking me to be part of this. I really enjoyed it. Holla.
Yeah, thanks you guys.
Well, take care. Talk to you soon.
Okay, everybody. We'll be in touch.